Hello and welcome to Sin and Steel, the heavy metal podcast. I'm your host, Sarah-Tonin, and today we're joined by Adam Chapman, drummer of Melbourne's Hybrid Nightmares and punk band Pernicious. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pernicious,
okay,
but
good.
yes.
Okay, the Pernicious. All right. Thank you for joining me, though. I really appreciate it.
No worries. It's awesome to be here, man.
Now, I believe that you've been drumming for quite a long time. So, to
Mhm.
kick things off, I'd really love to know when you started to play, what drew you to the drums out of all instruments and to heavy music in general.
Sure. I found heavy music through how most people find heavy music. Friends at school, mostly. When I started high school, there was a little group of people that I just sort of connected with that were all listening to mostly like Ramstein and Slipknot, and they started burning me CDs because I'm that old,
Yep.
and I would just listen on my Discman on the way home from school, and especially Slipknot back then. It was like this is how I feel. This is how angry I am inside.
Yep.
So it really connected with that, and also just the sort of community that comes with heavy metal.
Yeah.
As for drumming, I played piano in primary school,
Yep.
and my family was very sport based, so I tried like every sport, and I just never found one that stuck. And then same thing when I got into heavy metal, the same friend that sort of showed me Cradle of Filth and Slipknot and Marilyn Manson also had this huge Pearl drum kit, and
Nice.
I would sit behind that and play it every time I was at his house. And then eventually I asked my grandparents to buy me a drum kit and started learning songs, and went from there. Yeah.
Awesome. No, it sounds like quite the journey. And I guess the music reflecting how you feel and the anger and all of that, especially as a
Mm.
teenager, is it's so important. It's why so many of us get into it at an early age. I imagine drumming as
Yeah.
well is a good one to get out the frustrations.
Yeah. It sounds kind of silly, but like my sort of origin of drumming also came from a teenage girlfriend breaking up with me, and I was
Yep.
looking for an outlet of my anger at that, and so I was playing his drum kit and I was beating the hell out of it, and I was just
Yep.
like, the more I sort of hit it and felt it, I was like, damn, this is actually something I really love to do.
That's awesome. And I mean, now you're kicking ass on stage and you've got a few endorsements a lot as well with a few big brands.
I do.
How does that work for you and what does that mean for you?
Well, my biggest one is Pearl, and I'm wearing a shirt today, which was not on purpose. Um, I my first endorsement was Los Cabos Drumsticks, which was just this a small Canadian drumstick company that I tried at. There used to be this drum festival every 2 years, and unfortunately, just before COVID hit, they stopped doing it. But
Yeah.
you'd go there, and they had lots of brands that weren't really readily available in Australia. And so I tried them out. I really liked them, and I just shot them an email.
Yep.
Shot the local distributor an email, trying to get signed, and they felt that Hybrid Nightmares had done enough for me to get their name out there. Yeah, it's getting endorsed by companies. Some people want it for the fame side of it, and some people want it just so they get cheaper products, because that's the main thing from endorsements
Yep.
is you get a bit of a cheaper product. But for me, it was always about having the support of brands that I love. So I've played
Yep.
Pearl drums since I was 13, and I'm
Yeah.
35 this year, and I've only played Pearl drums professionally. So yeah. Then only last year the Pearl one came through. I'd been applying and talking to the local rep for 8 years,
Yeah. Okay.
and finally, I was like, oh, look, Hybrid's got we had the Cradle of Filth
Yep.
show and the Batushka show lined up, plus some stuff we've got this year that I can't unfortunately disclose tonight.
Yep.
But that was enough to just tip me. He always said I was just on the edge of getting it, and then finally that was the last thing that he was like, "Yep, let's do it." So I got that email. I screamed. I called all my friends
Yeah.
because it was unbelievable. And
That's
now I'm
awesome.
like on the website, and I'm a cool Pearl endorsee drummer.
That's awesome. No, that's so
Yeah,
good. Nice.
and a lot of my heroes, my top three drummers are
Yep.
all Pearl drummers. Joey
Yeah.
Jordison from Slipknot, Gene Hoglan from Strapping Young Lad, and
Yep.
Adrian Erlinson from Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
They're they're all Pearl guys, so that's why I knew I wanted to be a Pearl drummer, and now I'm part of their ranks.
That's so good. Look, I feel like it's a little bit of a running joke that there's always like a shortage of drummers, and we end up with drummers that are just always working across a million different bands. Now, you've had
Yeah.
a few different projects in the past, I believe, but at the moment it's the two. Is that
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I've just got Hybrid and the Pernicious that I like my bands.
yeah. How do you find balancing the two?
Well, it's really different the way you go about the two types of music.
Yeah.
Hybrid Nightmares is this black metal with some progressive elements, and then the Pernicious is just straight up like popish punk rock.
Yeah.
And like I wrote all of the Pernicious guitars and drums during
Okay.
lockdown, during COVID lockdown. Actually, I taught myself guitar in lockdown so I could write Hybrid Nightmare stuff. But I was like, you know what? I love punk music as well, so why don't I give that a shot?
Yeah. Nice.
And yeah, it's different. The Pernicious has only played one show so far. We've got some lined up for this year, and it was weird. It was weird getting on stage for the first time in like 15 years without wearing face paint and like
Yeah.
covering myself in blood and all of that stuff, just up there in just like a ghost t-shirt and shorts, just playing. It was very, very odd. And there were some fans at that show of Hybrid Nightmares
Yep.
who also told me it was really weird to see me just get up there in like my off stage gear.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be a very different dynamic. But I imagine it's also really good, like, and it'd have to be really rewarding creatively, being able to explore such different styles of music.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I went for it. Was I didn't just want to have two or three metal bands for my personal creative outlet. I wanted
Yep.
to explore the different genres I liked, and I've always been someone who likes a lot of different types of music. A
Yep.
lot of people say they like, oh, I like everything, but they don't actually like everything.
Oh, yeah. Who likes everything?
I know, I know. Like I used to work at a record store in Ringwood called Fist to Face, and my boss there used to say I was the only person he's met who actually listens to everything, because I'd be listening to Dolly Parton, Daft
Yep.
Punk, but then I'd also have like Carpathian Forest on and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really wanted to get the creativeness out for other things I love, not just black metal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, so of course, like I love some punk music too, but this is a heavy metal show. So we do want to talk a little bit more in depth about Hybrid Nightmares in particular. So I guess you already
Yeah.
touched on it, but like how would you describe the music and how has this evolved over time? Because you guys have put out quite a few albums and EPs.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we've got 50 something songs on Spotify.
Yep.
You know, I started the band with John, the old bassist, in 2007. You know,
Yeah.
we were both 17, and I just got kicked out of my first band, which was just a death metal band, and we sort of had this idea that we wanted to create a band that was not restricted to one metal genre.
Yep.
And it kind of backfired on us, because then we had people who loved one song but then didn't really care for the rest of the album.
Yep.
So we sort of focused on this progressive black metal thing.
Yep.
As time's gone on, the progressiveness has filtered a bit more. It's becoming more kind of standard black metal the more time we sort of evolve. Like our last album, Woeful Inertia,
Yep.
was almost no progressive elements in that, really. It was just straight death and black metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's there's some black metal fans out there who would say 100% that Hybrid Nightmares isn't black metal, and we aren't a traditional black metal band in
Yeah.
any sort of way, and we're not trying to be. But we do think that black metal does cover what we do, both
Yeah.
in imagery and even though we aren't We don't have much Satan imagery. We've got our obelisk imagery, and we're more about sort of space and astral fuckery. It's still got the same sort of vibe
Yeah.
as you're more like your Satyricon and everything like that. And those guys are our heroes. Satyricon and Immortal. They're sort of the two that we kind of look at and go, that's who we want to be.
Yeah, nice. And I guess while you've kind of touched on that, that album, Woeful Inertia, really good album, by the
Thank
way,
you.
fantastic. Is there anything that you would like to talk about in terms of like the creative process, themes, and whatnot for that album?
Sure. So that album, we started writing that just after the National Cradle of Filth tour in 2019.
Yep.
And then, of course, COVID hit, and it was really hard to write an album during COVID because
Yeah.
the writers in Hybrid Nightmares were very opinionated, and so we'd have lots of notes on songs and stuff. As every musician and every band, everyone wants what's best for the music.
Yep.
So it was a long process, and so I think I recorded the drums to that album in 2021, and it came out in 2024.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that was also an album we decided we wanted to try and get signed on. So it was
Yeah.
actually completely finished for about 8 or 9 months before it actually came out. And, that was kind of heartbreaking. Working on something for 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And everything else we'd ever done, we'd put maybe Obelisk, the sort of mini album EP before Woeful Inertia. We wrote, recorded, and released that in about 4 months.
Yeah. So this one was the longest time you've spent not only on the actual album, but then sitting on it once it's done.
Yeah, we're not good at sitting on albums, so all of our music in the past, it's basically comes out about 2 weeks after it's ready to come out.
Yep. Yep.
And this one we were like, let's sit on it and we didn't actually like that process. So
Yep.
for the next one, we're going to try and just get it out as soon as we can.
Yep. Keep doing it the way you like to do it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, good. I mean, once it's out too, like once you've got it there, you want to celebrate it. You want people to get to hear it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, you don't want to sit on it too long.
Yeah, it just hurts, and especially for our fans, we're like, we're not trying to be some big shot that's like, oh, new big things coming soon. We just want to be like, if you like our music, just take more, have more.
Yeah.
Let's give everything artistically we can to you. We do that with shows as well. If it was up to me, we'd be playing 2 hour sets every night, but venues don't like that.
No, I love that. And yeah, you're right. I think I really enjoy that too. Just you give what you've got. I've had the conversation a few times with different people who they've started doing things quite differently because they've kind of gone, well, we don't even want to sit on it for an album anymore. And they just start releasing singles or they're releasing EPs or, a lot of people have kind of changed how they do that. So you just do it the way that works best for you.
That's right. And it's very different. It's a very different world to be releasing content in, like there's a lot of bands that aren't releasing albums anymore. They're just releasing a single every month or a couple of songs every couple of months because unfortunately the way the not just music but content is absorbed now is so quick and fast. And if you don't have something to keep pushing your name in front of people, it's over within a month of sort of pushing it out. So it's different, and I think it's hard for bands of my age to find that change and be a lot of bands like, oh, we want to release an album that's 8 to 10 great songs, and it's different now. And we recently played an all ages show in Frankston at Singing Bird Studios.
Yep.
And we were a bit concerned that especially black metal is becoming sort of obsolete and there's no real kids getting into black metal. But there was like 80 kids at this show wearing like Satyricon shirts and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and like going fucking crazy for us. And they were buying our merch before they even saw us because they just love the black metal aesthetic.
Amazing.
And I was like, this is the best. We're coming back here
Yeah.
because I got to go to a,
Was that the first time you'd played Singing Bird Studio?
that was, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's such a good venue, and
It's great.
the Frankston kids fucking go off. They
They
are
do. They do.
so good. Like, I
It
was
reminds
supposed
me
to
of
come
my
to that
local
one.
scene.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah? It reminds me of my local metal scene back
Yep.
when I was a teenager.
Yep.
So I live in Croydon,
Yep.
and we had EV's Youth Centre in
Yep.
Croydon, and I got to see bands like the Berserker and Sunk Lotto and Spiderbait and all these bands play there.
Yep.
And every event through like 2003 or 2007, there was like 5 metal shows on there a year, and they all had like 400 people.
Yeah.
And I was lucky. Hybrid was lucky enough to play one of those.
That's awesome.
And it was great. It was all like hardcore kids with like big side fringes and woke up there
Yeah.
covered in paint and blood, and they'd never seen anything like that before. So that was super fun.
Yeah, so I grew up in Cranbourne, and we had they do Battle of the Bands at like the Cranbourne Hall and stuff, but we had the Shed. Have you heard of the Shed?
Heard of it?
Massive indoor
Don't think
skate
I've been
park.
there.
And
Oh,
so, yeah,
fuck yeah!
massive indoor skate park, really cool place. And they used to do shows there.
That's
So,
awesome.
so I went to a heap of those as a teenager, like when I was, 13, 14. But wasn't usually heavy metal. It was more like
Skate
emo,
punk. Yeah,
yeah, punk, a bit of like hardcore. And I used to go to a lot of all ages shows with my older sister in the city, but they were always hardcore shows that were all ages. Like
yeah,
the metal shows were never really, or very rarely, the ones that were all ages. But
yeah,
all of that's gone now. Like they don't seem to be doing that. So Singing
yeah,
Bird Studio is a real standout for that, and giving kids a place they can go. And it's so good. It's
yeah.
so,
It's awesome. I've tried myself to put on all ages shows around Melbourne, and it's just
yeah,
hard.
yeah,
Venues don't want it. They see no money in it, and they don't
yeah,
care about getting kids into music and getting them into heavy metal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
shame.
it's 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 sad. Yeah, my first ever show was at Cranbourne Music, like the festival, like the the local big festival they held at a big park.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I'm trying to think
I
what one
it
that
would have
might be,
been
because we're the same age. So,
well, it would have been 2004, 2005,
okay,
and my first ever band, AD Massacre, played the Cranbourne Festival.
that's
And it
awesome.
was not a metal festival. There was like a jazz
Yeah.
band on before us. It was
I think I know what you're
fucking
talking
weird.
about. Yeah, would
It
it
was
have been in
so
the back
weird.
of a truck and shit?
I
Like they'd
don't
have
know.
some bands set up on the back of a truck.
It was a decent stage.
Yeah,
Yeah, we played to like 20 of our friends. It was great.
that's
Great. I was like, yeah,
awesome.
15.
Yep,
Super
yep.
fun.
No, that's so good. So I guess with that show, that was a fundraising event too. So that was fundraising for domestic and family violence, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get involved in that?
It was pretty simple. The organizer did just send us an email, and
Yep.
we loved the idea and jumped on immediately. And we were super grateful afterwards because yeah, we raised some money for that cause,
Yep.
and every band had a fantastically fun night.
That's awesome. Have you participated in many events like that before, like fundraising ones? And do you have any
Yeah,
plans to do kind of more of that in the future?
yeah. So the last one we've done a couple. We did this residency at the Bendigo Hotel before it closed down the
Yep.
latest time,
Yep.
to which was kind of we didn't put it out there as a fundraiser, but it was to try and help the Bendy get some funds in,
Yep.
you know. And we broke a record for a Thursday night on drinks across the bar, so that was cool.
Nice.
We also did one for the bushfires a couple of years ago,
Yep.
which was cool. We're always keen to be
Yeah.
involved. Like it costs us just time to get up there and help out someone.
Yeah. It's so good to see that sort of stuff happening though as well. Just the community coming together for different causes and stuff. It's really good. And it's a good way to do it too, just having a show and getting everyone together, right?
Yeah, yeah. You get to work with good bands and you get to have fun and everything like that, and at the end make a bit of a difference. We used to play a festival called Sonic Forge,
Yep.
which was held at the Espy over the 3 stages, and
Yeah.
that was always for charity. We played, I think there was five, and we played three of them,
Nice.
and they were fantastic. We were a younger band then, so the idea of the charity wasn't so much on our minds. We were just like, oh my god, we get to play Sonic Forge, and like Bellacore and Enable of Ascaris are playing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we were focused on when we were like 18, 19 playing those
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Anything else that stood out from the night?
There was there was a lot of teenagers because I was coated in blood, and there was a lot of teenagers coming up to me afterwards who wanted the blood from me. It was a little weird. Something really cool that happened on that night, actually. I have a little sister. She's 13.
Yep.
And that was her first time ever seeing me perform.
That's awesome. What'd she
Yeah.
think?
She was horrified. She's not a metalhead. She's a little popular girl.
Yeah, that's amazing though. Did you
Yeah,
make sure to get a photo together, like covered in blood?
I didn't actually, but
Oh, no.
I didn't think of that because I was needed at the merch and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But she took video and sent it to her friends. She was amazed, and she doesn't
Yeah.
listen to metal, but she listens to Hybrid Nightmares because it's my band. Which is
That's
very nice of her.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What a good sister. And look, you play a ton of other live shows, and you did mention before you've done a bunch of shows supporting a lot of international acts.
Yep.
Are there any particular artists or bands that were most exciting for you to play with?
Yeah, for sure. There was a Bath.
Yeah.
That was, we're all China Mortal fans, and I remember getting to Max Watts, was setting up merch, and a Bath walks in with his duffel bag like
Yep.
on his back, and he just like as he walked past, and we were just like, oh hey, and then he walked past, and we're like, holy fuck, it's a Bath.
Amazing. Was he as hilarious in person as he comes across
Oh
online?
yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
After the show, he was like, oh, I heard your stuff from upstairs. It's pretty good. Could I get the CD? And we were like, yeah, sure, I'll get a CD for a Bath.
Yeah, you're not going to say no
Yeah.
to that.
No. So that was a big one. Cradle of Filth.
Yep.
We've supported Cradle of Filth now 8 times in Australia.
8 times. I knew it was a few
8
times.
times.
8 times.
So 3 times,
Far out.
2 times just in Melbourne, and then
Yep.
we did the National Australia tour with them in 2019, which was 6
Yep.
shows around
Of
Australia.
course. And on the most recent
and-
time, they just came out last year.
Yep.
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 So-
yeah, you guys killed that show.
Thank you. That
Yeah.
was Cradle of Filth was the band that
Yeah.
I remember vividly seeing the Damnation in a Day Babylon AD film clip.
Yeah.
And Danny Filth is sitting there with all the rings, and he's sort of picking his lips, and he's got long hair, and he's wearing eyeliner.
Yeah.
And I had a shaved head when I was 12.
I'm
And I
guessing
saw
that
that.
instantly stopped.
Yeah, I saw that and was like, holy fuck, I'm going to start wearing makeup and grow my hair. This is what I want to be. And I got to meet him and like sort of
Yeah.
tell him that and hang out with Cradle for like a week. It was
That's awesome.
fucking cool.
Yeah, nice.
The only other one was I did a fill-in show for with a band called Scafus.
Yep.
And they were opening for Sin Sanum, which is Joey Jordson's
Oh.
band after Slipknot.
Yeah, okay.
And I filled in on that show, and then I was just waiting inside a stage, and Joey walks past, and I had my Joey Jordson signature snare drum, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey man, you're one of the reasons I wanted to be a drummer. Could I get your signature?"
Amazing.
So he gave me a signature, he gave me a big hug, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, thanks, man." He was so like genuine and real.
That's awesome.
Signed my snare. I got a photo with him, and then at the end of the night, he got the elevator up with me and all my gear. And as he's walking down the hallway, I was just like, "Oh, dude, it was so nice to meet you." And he turned around and walked all the way back to me, even though he had his sort of leg
Yep.
problems.
Yep.
He walked all the way back to me, gave me a hug, and he said, "Dude, we'll see each other again." And then went out and spent like an hour and a half signing stuff and getting photos with fans out the front. He's just
Amazing.
the best dude.
That's so good. What an experience. So you've gotten to play with like two of your heroes? Or was
So of my drumming heroes, I've only got to play with one.
okay.
But I've met Gene Hoagland from
Yep.
Strapping and Death Clock, who's out here soon.
Yep.
But I haven't played with him. Although Hybrid Nightmares did apply for the Death Clock support. I don't know if we'll get it, but we applied.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I still need to go and snag myself a ticket to the second show if they're still available. I was
Hopefully.
meant to be overseas when they were coming out, so I was like, oh, I'm not going to see them. But now I've had to cancel my trip, so
No.
that's the silver lining, I guess. That if I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
get a
You
ticket,
get to see
I
Death
can
Clock.
go and see them. I need to do that. No, that's awesome. So do you have anything new in the works? Like what's happening for Hybrid Nightmares?
Yep. So Hybrid Nightmares is definitely working on a new album.
Yep.
We've finished our sort of first round of demos for it,
Yep.
and we're I'm hoping it'll be out before the end of the year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That'll be
it's a
really
lot
good.
more. It's a lot more sort of black punk.
Okay.
It's got a lot more of a Watain and like dissection influence.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
That'll be really interesting.
yeah, it'll be fun.
Any flow on effect from your punk band in that? Other than the
Slightly,
yeah.
slightly,
Yep.
just a little bit. I just the more I write music, the more I'm drawn to violent mosh riffs.
Yep.
Like whenever I write a song, it's always with the live aspect in mind.
Yep.
How is this going to get people moving or headbanging or just moshing in general?
Yeah.
Every song I write is that's at the front of my mind. If I write a riff where I'm like, oh, this is cool, but it's kind of a bit pretty and slow, I'll probably if it's not surrounded by moshing genius, then I'll get rid of it.
That's great. I love that. And any upcoming shows that you'd like to plug?
So Hybrid has some shows in the works.
Yep.
We will most likely have something in May, June,
Yep.
which I can't announce. We're still working on it, so it's not 100% locked in, but it's pretty there.
Yep.
And we will be doing a co-headline tour with a couple of other bands, one from Adelaide and one from New South Wales,
Awesome.
in September/October, just around Sydney, Newcastle, Melbourne, Adelaide, and Tassie.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, so there should be more details about that coming out end of March.
Yeah, cool. I'll be looking forward to hearing about that. I'm curious now which band.
Well, they fit the vibe. That's the main thing.
Yeah, all right.
They passed the vibe check.
Nice. And finally, where can people find you and how can they support your music?
Sure. So you can find us on all the socials or Linktree. If people use Linktree,
Yeah.
slash Hybrid Nightmares or slash The Pernicious. You can also find my personal things at slash Adam Chapman _drums
Yep.
to hire me for any session work or watch some drum cams. Yeah, and listen to Hybrid Nightmares and The Pernicious. The Pernicious has our second single coming out next Friday, the 28th of Feb,
Nice. Okay, cool.
called Hell on Earth,
Fuck yeah.
which I named it after Doom.
Perfect. No,
I'm a
that's
big
great.
Doom nerd.
Hence the video game podcast as well. If you want to give that a shout
I
out,
have the
you might
I
as
have
well.
the Caco demon tattooed on my hand,
Nice.
and I have the icon of sin tattooed on my chest.
You might as well plug that as well. What was the podcast called?
The podcast is called Castle Warp Star.
Awesome.
And it's just me and one of my childhood best mates, and we just ramble about video games and mostly bring it back to Ghost of Tsushima and Banjo-Kazooie and how every game should just be those two games.
Nice. No, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And look, as always, I'll make sure that the links are all in the description of the episode. Make it nice and easy for everybody to jump across. But thank you again for jumping on the show.
Absolutely no worries. It's been awesome.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment letting us know what you think of Hybrid Nightmares. Have you listened to their music? Have you caught a live show? Tell us what you think. And until next time, stay metal.